Women of Reddit, what are some obvious hints that you made to guys you were into that flew right over their heads? Before I started dating my husband, I went swimming at his apartment and asked to take a shower so I could rinse the chlorine out of my hair. Freshly dyed red. Wanted to keep it nice. I asked him to untie my bikini top BC I couldn't reach it and he did. I let it fall and turned around to face him topless and he had left me alone and shut the door behind him. He was a decent guy. I give him props for that. Can I take a nap on your bed again? I'm going to take off my pants because I can't sleep with them on. Do you want to take a nap too? Sent a guy friend a picture of me in just a tank top. Pulling the lower part of it down to cover my lady bits. Honestly, a really sexy picture, I thought. Also let him know I was bored and lonely. Nothing came from it. He told me a couple weeks later that he had a huge crush on me but I had moved out of town. I went out with girl from work to lounge. I was 19 at the time and she was 22. She ordered an alcoholic drink. I commented on how I can't order one cause I'm not old enough. She asked me if I wanted to try some of hers. Which I happily accepted. Instead of letting me sip from the cup, she takes a big swig. Presses her lips against mine and lets the liquor pour into my mouth. I thought it was so they won't see me drink. Then she did it one more time. Clearly I wasn't getting the hint so she left it at that. I'm a dumbass. She invited me to her flat to hang out so we hung out. After about an hour she said, do you want to leave? I said no. Why? She said, because I brought you back here so we could duck and you've been trying to make small talk for the last hour. Oh. And that's the story of how I lost my virginity at 21 years old. When I was pretty young, I was at my then girlfriend's house and she wandered off to the bathroom. Eventually she called my name. I wandered over and found her in the bathroom doorway mostly nude. She asked if I wanted to help her shave her legs. I said no. That's kind of weird and wandered off. That's a weird hint. Just saying. In a pretty nice but fairly clueless guy's apartment one afternoon just hanging out. Making increasing hints that I'd like to get naked and play cowgirl. After about an hour he said he needed to step out. And as I was getting ready to leave, I basically blocked his hallway and mentioned that I'd never gotten the tour of his place before. He nodded. Pointed out the kitchen and the living room. I rolled my eyes. And mentioned how nice it would be to see his bedroom. Obligingly. He pointed at the open door of the room and said, there it is, and then asked if we could get together later in the week. Sigh, sure. 2 hours later it must have sunk in what I was going after because I got a frantic call asking me to come back to his place. He'd be happy to give me that tour. Sorry, Kevin. But I really did have to meet my folks for dinner that night. I wasn't just making excuses. When I was a young teenager, a girl told me she was going to take a shower and asked if I wanted to join her. I just laughed it off. Because obviously she must have been joking. Right? I still kick myself for that one. I had a girl keep sending my topless pics while she was home alone, but she was pointing out how long her hair was. I was like, yeah. Your hair is pretty long, lol. I woke up around 2 in the morning kicking myself for not getting the very obvious hints. A other time with a complete different girl on our first date we were watching Ant-Man. I remember joking around saying I could do that about dumb things, making her laugh. Well, when the kissing scene came she asked, can you do that? While close to my face. I was like, man, I don't know. I might have to practice and then watch the movie. When I dropped her off and was driving home and had to slap myself. Guy here. I was walking a friend home one evening and I mentioned to her that I am quite oblivious about when a girl likes me. I said a girl could smack me on the head and I wouldn't realize she was into me. She then smacked me on the back of my head and I responded with, ow. What the hell was that for? Posting for my wife. As she's not a redditor. When we first met, I was still a smoker. She brought in cigarettes the next day. She's never smoked, to give herself an excuse to be around me. She wore the lowest cut top I've ever seen, and when we were alone together she'd often say she really needed a massage. I went back to hers one evening to help her with her studies. And despite her changing to her underwear part way through, that's exactly what I did. It took me 2 weeks of this to finally click on. A man. Ardents. The first time I went out with my current GF. We spent the entire day getting drunk. Toward the end of the day she started saying things like, "Can we go back to your house and watch a movie, and I don't want to go to another bar. Maybe we can do something else." In my head I was thinking, is this she trying to tell me something? Probably not. Thankfully I eventually picked up on it. Guy here. Went to a concert with an old friend and got drunk. She is from out of town and crashing in my guest room. We get home and she asks if I wanted to cuddle. I shrugged and said sure, why not. Lay in bed ready to fall asleep and she grabs my dick. In my head I was like, oh cuddle. Chatting with him on FB every single day for 3 months. Inviting him to things. Giving him tickets to sports games. 3 months later he grabbed my hand to help me off a curb and I didn't let go. Suddenly he got it. 5 years later we're still together. I'm less subtle now. I'll just grab his dick. My current BF and I met through Tinder. The conversation had been going pretty well, so we decided to meet up at a bar for some drinks, a drink and some chips later. The bar was closing, so we walked around the car park and into the warehouse, pretty much the New Zealand version of Walmart. We ended up in the book section reading the steamy parts of romance novels to each other and having a good laugh. He then showed off his car and drove me back to where mine was parked. Despite all of my flirting, he didn't make a single move. I left feeling fairly disheartened. I texted him when I got home saying I got back safe and he replied with, "I feel like I should have kissed you," to which I told him that's what I'd wanted. Fast forward a few days. I drove to his house with pizza. Cuddled up with him to watch a movie. And just before I had to leave I decided that I had to make the move. Been together ever since. But I won't let him live it down. I was at a club in college. 2 girls come up to me. Smiling that I'm drunk and horny smile. They unbutton my shirt. And say, "Wow, that's a beautiful necklace." I was like, haha yay. And walked over to my friends and Ubered home. Still kick myself. This will probably never see the light of day, but here's my fun story. Guy here who was just a bit late on the hint. I was really into this girl in high school. One day our friend group was getting milkshakes after finals week was over, and as everyone was leaving she said that she was going to go home and that nobody would be there. She then turned to me. And in front of all of our friends. Said, "Hey Gerbat, why don't you come keep me company?" Stupidly I said no and walked by to my house. About 2 blocks from my house I sat down for a few minutes to think over my life. A long time ago I ran into my then extremely fit, extremely attractive neighbor one night and we got into a conversation about how crappy our fridges were. After a few minutes she asked me if I wanted to come in and check out her fridge. I was like, dang. This lady really wants to talk about her fridge. I guess I'll be a good neighbor and listen for a while. I know. So. I went inside and she proceeded to show me her fridge while standing really close to me. I remember thinking, dang. This lady has no concept of personal space. I honestly thought she just wanted to talk about her fridge. For some reason it never dawned on me that no sane woman would ever invite a virtual stranger back to their apartment if they weren't interested in doing something fun and dirty. Or murder. But she wasn't the type. Needless to say I left about 5 minutes after entering. Edit. Thank you so much for the gold and silver. Kind strangers. Let's just say I'm done making hints to my boyfriend. I never realized how oblivious a guy could be until I was topless on top of him and grinding on him. And he still didn't try anything. I appreciate him for it though. I know he doesn't try anything out of fear I might feel violated or something. Bumped into a girl in a nightclub I crushed on at school for the longest time. We had a really great catch-up chat where she said, "Remember how you used to keep asking me out in high school?" She'd always turned me down. I was like, yeah haha. Sorry for being such a dork. Anyway. Not long later she said, "I've got to go to the ladies." Why don't you come and wait for me outside?" And me, not wanting to follow her around like a lost puppy like I did in high school, just replied with, "I'd better go find my friends. It was nice seeing you again," and I left. We never saw each other again. Sometimes I think there might have been a message there, but I'm glad I left.